now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. A couple of years ago, I wrote a classic blog talking about the silence of black women. And I'm going to leave a link to that classic blog in the description box. Now, in that classic blog, I talked about how I believed at the time a good majority of black women were silent about the out of control and out of pocket behavior of a small minority of black women. And when it came down to this small minority of black women, these were the ones with the nasty attitude, these were the one with the big mouth, these were the one participating in embarrassing behavior like fighting in restaurants, fighting in the street, twerking and making twerk videos, and going out here and having all sorts of out of control behaviors presented on social media. And I always believed that this group of black women were the minority in the black community, and that there was a good majority of black women who have been forced to believe that they have to remain silent in our community because they fear reprisal from that group of black women. And I wrote about that in my 2016 novel Spellbound. Now, in the novel Spellbound, the Matilda Crowley character believes that she has to remain silent about a bully named Chantel. And the Chantel character bullies the Matilda character because she isn't the version of black that she believes she needs to be. And in the story, the Matilda Crowley character is encouraged by a teacher to find her voice. And in that story, I wanted to talk about how many black girls believe that they have to remain silent because they aren't going to be the version of black that fits what the loud people in the black community believe to be the only version of black. And when it came down to the Matilda Crowley character, throughout the story, she starts to find the courage to find her voice, and she starts to find the courage to express herself the way she wants to express herself by being an African American goth. Now, when it comes down to many black girls and many black women, they don't find their voice as they grow up like the Matilda Crowley character did in Spellbound. And what they do is they believe they conform to the standards of the loud minority. And because the loud minority has a big mouth, a nasty attitude, and they oftentimes use their numbers to bully and intimidate others and make examples out of people, oftentimes many black women fall silent and conform because this group of females uses their voice to silence others, and then they use physical force to get others to submit to them. And because this small minority of women use their power to bully, intimidate, and harass others, many in the majority of black women, they believe they have to remain silent and they have to conform to their standards. And one of the reasons I believe so many black women are angry these days is because they believe they have to conform to the standards of this small group of women, and they have to do this because these women will punish them if they go out here and stand up for themselves. And what I wanted to say in Spellbound is that most black women have to start being like Matilda Crowley and start finding the courage to find their voice, start speaking for themselves, and start standing up and being the person that they want to be. Because when it comes down to these queen bees who control the black community, they are doing serious damage to the black female image, and they are doing serious damage to the black community. Now, when it comes down to this small minority of black women, what they are doing with their out of control and out of behaviors is they are presenting a negative picture of the black community that is embarrassing the black community. Worse, they are teaching a culture to our children that is extremely dysfunctional, and they're teaching them that the way you behave when things don't go your way is to act out by having a loud mouth, having a nasty attitude, and if things don't go your way, throwing an adult temper tantrum by doing things like going out here and fighting in a fast food restaurant or going out here and fighting out of control situations or participating in embarrassing and antisocial behaviors like twerking and making twerk videos in the hopes of getting attention from people. And it's the small minority that is presenting, again, an extremely negative image of black women to the world and an embarrassing image of black people to the world. And I believe the silent majority of black women need to start speaking out against these black women because these minority of black women, their moral position is taking the black community into the sewer. As the old African proverb states, a race can rise no higher than the moral position of its women. And as the woman goes, so goes the race. And when a majority of black women allow a minority of black women to speak for them, they are giving the green light for those black women to set the direction for the race and set a direction for the community. And that small minority of women, I believe, is sending the black race into the gutter with their low moral position and their out of control, out of pocket, and antisocial behavior. And I believe that the good silent majority of black women, they need to find their voice to start speaking out against these black women, and they need to start standing up and having a moral position to establish for their black community. Because if that majority of black women were to find their voice and to start speaking out against that group of black women, I believe we could change the direction of the black community overnight. Because if that group of black women who are on the sidelines start finding their voice and start speaking out against that group of out of control and out of pocket black females, we could really start to see significant changes because I've seen so many black men stand up and speak against these out of pocket and out of control black females and make efforts to talk about standards in their community. But what we've seen is a lot of resistance from a good majority of black women who I believe fear reprisal from the, the loud minority. And I've seen some sisters have the courage to come out over the years, like your Colonel of Wisdoms and your statuesque ones, to speak out against that loud minority. But we need to hear more voices on social media, like Colonel of Wisdom and statuesque one, and Lorena, who oftentimes posts many of my blogs and links to my blogs on her site. We need to hear from more of those sisters coming out on the regular to speak out against this debaucherous and amoral behavior that this loud minority speaks on the regular. Because for too long, this loud minority has been controlling the narrative of the black community, they've been controlling the voice of the black community, and they've been controlling the culture of the black community. And they are only allowed to do this because a good majority of black women, as I believe it, remain silent. And by their silence, what they do is give these women, again, a green light to participate in destroying the black community. The only way we can really turn things around in the black community, as I see it as related to the black female image, is for black women to start speaking out against this small minority of women and speaking out against their irresponsible, reckless, egregious behaviors and behaviors that are embarrassing our community, and to start teaching a different culture to our children, because it's up to black women to change their moral position if we hope to change the direction of the race, because this small minority, they are sending the black community straight into the sewer with their out of control and out of pocket behaviors, and teaching our children that it is okay to disrespect authority figures, teaching our children that it is okay to be violent, teaching our children that it is okay to do whatever you want without any sort of consequences, and teaching our children that there is no accountability, because these women don't want to be accountable for anything, because they don't want to be responsible for anything. And it is up to those black women who have a high moral position, who want to have a quality of life in their community and have standards in their community, to start standing up, finding their voice, and speaking out against this small minority of black women. Because your silence is saying that you support this kind of behavior, and your silence is saying that you're going to allow this behavior to continue in your community. And I'm urging black women to stop allowing that small minority of women to bully you with their big mouths, with their nasty attitudes, with their voices, because they are the ones who are tarnishing your image all throughout the world. They are the ones who are embarrassing you. And these are the women who are out here bullying and intimidating people, whether they be at a corporate job or they are the ones who are at these social situations embarrassing our community. And they make all black women bad, and they're one of the core reasons why I believe a good majority of black women are single, because this group of women, they have presented such a negative image of black women that most men just don't see them as attractive, because they look at the behaviors of that small minority and they judge the majority. And that's why so many men, especially even black men, find black women unattractive these days, because this group of women have embarrassed the collective of black women. And I believe it is time for black women to stop following the lead of that minority of women and start to find their own voice, the way Matilda Crowley did in Spellbound, and break the spell off their minds and stop trying to fit themselves into a black box that is acceptable to white people and some of these other black people out here who are a part of the minority, and start to get the darker shade of black, which allows us to define ourselves on our own terms. Because when it comes down to black women, they have to discover the darker shade of black, because in the darker shade of black, black women have the freedom to have their own voices, to speak out for themselves, and to be who they want to be. And you cannot do that in the black box. The people who want to have the black box are the minority, and these are the loudmouths, these are the bullies, these are the queen bees, and they like the power they have to make black women and black girls conform. And I believe it's time for black women to start finding their voice out here, because when you find your voice, you can start establishing your own moral position. You can start establishing your own standards for your community, and you can start establishing a moral position which allows you to set a direction for yourself and an image of yourself that you feel comfortable with. And this is something many black women, again, fear doing, because they fear reprisal from the loud minority. But the loud minority can be shouted down if there are larger numbers of black women speaking out against them. And if these black women start to stand with black men, they can start to create a voice in their community that stands up to that minority of women and set a standard for the entire community and the entire race. And that's why I say if these black women who were silent as the majority started speaking out, they could start making changes in their community overnight. But they have to start finding the courage to start speaking out against this minority of black women who have damaged the image of black women, damaged the reputation of black women, and used their bully pulpits to control the black community and control a good majority of the black women through fear and intimidation. And those women, again, their bark is worse than their bite, and usually they have no bite at all once they see people standing up to them. The more black people start standing up to this minority of women, the more things will improve as related to the quality of life in the black community. And all it takes is black women, again, finding their voice. And this is something that black women have to learn how to do, because if we don't allow ourselves to find our voice, others will speak for us. And that's what's been going on in the black community as related to black women. As I see it, is that black women have allowed this small minority of black feminists and black loudmouths to speak for them, and those women have not acted in the best interest of black women. And what they have done is they're starting to drive the community straight into the sewer. And if you want to see things change, you have to start speaking out as a black woman against this, because that's something I would like to see more black women do, standing with black men to stand up to the members of that minority and letting them know what they want in their community and what standards they want to have in their community. Because, again, a race can rise no higher than the moral position of its women, and as the woman goes, so goes the race. And that's why it's important for those majority of black women who are silent to start speaking out against this minority and to start to establish their moral position so that they can establish a direction for the black race that allows the black community to grow and prosper. Because I believe that those who are a part of the darker shade of black, this is what they would do, because they don't want someone to speak for them. They want to find their own voice, they want to speak for themselves, and they want to set a direction for their lives, the same way the Matilda Crowley character set a direction for her life in Spellbound, standing up to the loud minority of people like your Chantels and the women who worked at her Kentucky Fried Chicken, and being the black woman they want to be and actualizing their potential as a black woman. But that can only happen if a black woman starts to find her voice and starts to find the courage to stand up for herself, because life is better when you start speaking for yourself. Because the only way for you to really live life and have a great life, again, is to have the voice to say what you want and go for what you want, and not be afraid of people like those in the loud minority. You have to have the courage to be yourself, and this is something black girls need to learn at an early age, and black women have to learn, because if you remain silent, you are allowing other people to live your life and dictate the terms of your life, and those terms in many cases may not be beneficial to you. If you want to learn how a black woman can discover her voice and set a direction for herself, I urge you to pick up my novel Spellbound on Amazon.com in paperback and ebook. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Isis, Escape from Transylvania. The goddess next door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.